Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration.
Did you ever expect it to become so memorable?
But never a hit until after we were off the air. I mean, it was all good times. You always want more. Let bygones be bygones. Everything had led up to that moment, and he would crack up laughing. John and Rain and Steve would blow a take at the end. I was not there to blow the machine down. If somebody buys that t-shirt with my ugly face on it, God bless them.
Who did you find was easiest to work with?
Love Phyllis. That's all I did. My mom and dad's name are Bob and Phyllis. That's weird. 11, 12-year-old kids. I'm like, when did the audience change? I mean, that cast was so talented. After Steve left, it was a different show. Well, Steve obviously is the best improv artist there, but he has the most freedom. Phyllis is not Bob's first wife.
Are you still in touch with any of the cast of The Office?
We'll always have Scranton.
Welcome back to another episode of the DaneMellowsTalks podcast. So this one has the potential to be the biggest guest that we've had on the show so far, coming straight from The Office. Well, I say straight from The Office, finished years ago now, didn't it? But we've got Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration. So the iconic line, we talk about that. We talk about memories from The Office. We talk about who's the best on set at improvisation. We talk about who's the best to work with, how it was working with Phyllis on an on-screen romance, how we got into The Office, how he felt when The Office finished. Maybe it could have gone on for a few more seasons, or should it have been cut back a little bit, how the vibe was on set after Steve Carell left in season 7. We talk about all of that. We talk about projects that he's done outside of The Office as well, living in LA and then shifting out of LA because he really didn't like it. We talk about all of it, so I hope you really enjoyed this episode. If you're listening on Spotify, then do us a favor and rate us 5 stars. If you're watching and listening on YouTube, then like, comment, and subscribe. It'd be a big favor, and obviously the bigger the podcast gets, then the bigger the guest gets. So without further ado, let me introduce Bob Vance. Okay, so Bob Vance, everyone knows your iconic introduction, Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration. So actually, for starting off, could you give us a little rendition of that?
You know, I've only been saying it for 18 years now, but Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration.
Amazing. So how did that actually become your signature line? And did you ever expect it to become so memorable?
No. They wrote that. I mean, the triple greeting at the beginning, and who knew? I mean, it's amazing the merchandising and what it became. Certainly, I mean.
So, did you have any idea that it was going to become so big?
No. Who could have known that? I mean, we were a good show, an Emmy-winning show, but never a hit until after we were off the air. And now there's shower curtains and baby clothes and hats and shirts and everything.
Everything that you could possibly think of.
Everything I could possibly buy.
What's the craziest thing that you've seen Vance Refrigeration on?
Oh, toddler clothes, little baby onesies.
What, have you seen them in person?
No, I've seen them online. I've seen photos of them. I almost bought one for my cousin. I'm like, hell no, he'll outgrow that.
No way.
No, they all have hats and hoodies and, shirts. And I've been giving it away for 18 years.
I mean, I've seen, I like the cap at the moment. I'm liking the cap.
Oh, there's, 12 caps back there, 12 different ones. The first clothing came out after the first episode. After a Christmas party, I bought hoodies for John and Steve and the producer Greg Daniels and Phyllis and myself, and I think Rain might have got one. They all had Bob Vance hoodies. At that time, though, NBC was enforcing their copyright, so they would immediately take down anything that a graphic artist did. And but now everybody, does whatever they want with it.
Very true. Yeah, it's just open and out there at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, people actually do T-shirts with my picture on it, which of course they're not supposed to do. I mean, you're supposed to be paid for your likeness, but I don't enforce it either. So I'm like, if somebody buys that T-shirt with my ugly face on it, God bless them.
It's like sort of them things where when you go away on holiday or on vacation somewhere and you see all like the rip-off clothes stores of everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, the big department stores here carry Walmart has t-shirts, so I mean it's everywhere.
No, wow, yeah. I might have to get my hand on one to be honest. So with the big cast and the length of time that the show went on for, have you got any behind the scenes stories of The Office? Any standout ones that are your favorite?
Well, I mean, it was all good times. I mean, mostly fun. It's interesting for a supporting player like myself. I mean, you always want more, and so it was, not very satisfying on the amount of playing time that I got. But, you know, let bygones be bygones, I say. My career in acting, I everything had led up to that moment, when I got the opportunity, and I nailed it, and the rest is history, as they say.
Exactly, yeah. Do you have like a standout memory of being in stitches on set of on what someone said to you or just laughing at a scene that's happened?
Well, the memorable one is the fart scene from Phyllis's wedding. Michael, Steve, every time he said the word pungent, he couldn't say it, and he would crack up laughing. I mean, I was standing outside the door, and I'm just thinking, do not laugh, because Steve is funny, and Phyllis is in there. They're pretending who let the fart out, and it goes on for 30 minutes. Every time he says pungent, he falls apart. And the crew, the director and the writers, they're all downstairs, and I can hear them laughing every take, and I can hear them inside laughing, and I'm just standing at the door going, "Do not, do not laugh." And of course, we finally got it. It's a funny outtake.
How long does it take to shoot scenes like that where everyone is just trying the hardest not to laugh?
Well, that happened very rarely. I mean, usually, John and Rain and Steve would do a blow a take at the end of a day to make everybody laugh, but we didn't blow takes. I mean, we were pros. We didn't want to be the one to blow a take. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, as long as you nailed your Bob Vance Refrigeration line, you were set sailing, I'm sure.
Oh, I was not there to slow the machine down. I was there to keep the ball rolling. When the camera came to me, I was ready for it. I mean, my whole job boiled down to it was very simple. Love Phyllis. That's all I did. Every
Exactly, yeah.
every scene is about Phyllis. Nothing else. Nothing else. Phyllis.
So
Phyllis.
speaking of Phyllis, yeah, speaking of Phyllis and that on-screen romance that you had there, what was some of the memorable laughs that you had from that? And what was like the best part of working so close with Phyllis?
Well, she's a great girl, first of all. I mean, I love her to death. And the funny story is that I had auditioned for her and failed miserably. Like 3 or 4 years before that, I mean, I stunk the room up, and I don't think she never remembered it. I never brought it up either. But I had auditioned for her, and really was terrible. But um, here's a little known fact: my mom and dad's name are Bob and Phyllis.
Oh wow.
Phyllis Smith, my mom's maiden name is Phyllis Smith. So that's weird, you know. But when we got married, I had a photo of them on their wedding day, Bob and Phyllis getting married, in my pocket, in my tux, very nostalgic for me. So, it was a beautiful experience. I remember we were standing outside the church, and everybody was gathered around getting ready to throw the rice and whatnot. And Phyllis said, "I wish I hate to see it end." And I said, "Well, we'll always have it." So, we didn't realize then how big it would be. No one did, but
Mhm.
truer words were never spoken. We'll always have Scranton.
Was that like a feeling that was going across set, not just between you and Phyllis towards the end of the show, that it was we'll always be able to look back fondly of the times that we shared here.
Well, Steve said we'll never have better parts than this ever. So, I don't think we knew historically where it would be. At the time, Rolling Stone ranked us 48th out of the top 100 shows of all time. So I think we've probably gone up since then.
I mean, the amount of love and support that The Office gets now, especially with it being on things like Netflix, it's just opened its way up to a complete new generation, including myself.
Totally. I mean, I realized that I went to Scranton to throw a pitch out at a baseball game. The New York Yankees AAA farm team is there, and I was signing autographs for 6 innings. The whole line was kids, 11, 12-year-old kids. I'm like, when did the audience change? I mean, our audience when we were on with 30 and 40-year-olds, right? Not 11, 12-year-olds. But they knew it. They knew every line.
Yeah.
They knew all my lines.
Would you find it a bit weird then that you could have maybe like a 30 or 40-year-old coming up to you with their 10-year-old kid and both of them are big fans of the show and Bob Vance?
No, I mean, I'm used to it by now. Like I said, it's been 18 years. Nothing startles me in this game. Although Adam Rifkin, who's a director, writer friend of mine who did Psycho Cop with me, he came up to me at a screening of Psycho Cop Returns and begging me for autographs for his niece and nephew, for Bob Vance. He's like, they couldn't believe that I knew you. I'm like, you told them I'm an actor, right? You told them I'm Psycho Cop. And they're like, I didn't care about that.
They just want to know about Bob Vance.
So I said, your niece and nephew just got lucky.
So do you feel like The Office was at a point when it did end that it was the right time to end it, or do you wish that you could have gone a few more seasons?
Oh, it could have gone longer. I mean, with the core characters, I mean, that cast was so talented. I mean, losing Steve, the fact that you went on 2 years without him, I mean, uh, basically after 7, after Steve left, it was a different show, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It ended when it ended, and Greg Daniels made sure of it, and it's done.
So you mentioned there that such a talented cast, which it really is. Who did you find was easiest to work with on set?
Oh, all of them. They were all easy.
All of them.
Well, I mean, there were a couple. I'm not going to name names. There's always a couple, but they were all, for the most part, team players. So.
Who then was your favorite to work with? Maybe not Phyllis, because I know that you got a lot of on-screen time with Phyllis, but
Of course, Phyllis. I mean, but Daryl, I'm a big Daryl guy. Craig Robinson, so talented. Oscars. I mean, Brian. I mean, Brian's crazy talented. Guys, John. I mean, look what John's done with his career. Amazing. Well, the funny story about John is his parents came to visit the set, and he came up to me and he said, "My dad and mom are here, and they want to meet you." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." So he goes, "You know who Dad's favorite character is?" I'm like, "Well, you, of course." He goes, "No, it's Bob. It's you."
It's Bob Vance.
I'm like, "What? Was he in the refrigeration business? What's the deal? What's wrong with your dad?"
Yeah.
I mean, well, Bob was a Marine Corps combat infantry officer, so I was playing that.
Well, exactly. Yeah, it's that like character development that I'm sure that you've got to get into the skin of the character.
Well, I know what salesmen are like, and so that's what. And like I said, love Phyllis, so that's easy.
If you could recast yourself as one of the other cast members in The Office, who would you want to give a crack at playing?
Playing Bob Vance?
Yeah, if you couldn't play Bob Vance, if you could be another character,
what character would I be if I could be another character? Oh, I've never thought about anything like that. I mean, maybe Daryl or Roy.
yeah.
Those are two characters that were probably pretty close to Bob because they're working men.
Who did you think was maybe like your top 3 other actors that were the best at improvising?
Well, there's not that much improvisation. It's all scripted. The network approves every word. You don't change stuff. Not allowed. I mean,
Oh, really?
Well, I got one improv line in the whole time I was in it. During the Valentine's Day episode, when Phyllis and I, after we have sex in the disabled bathroom, we come out and start eating, and I give her a piece of meat, and I add the line, "How about a big piece of meat?" I snuck that in, and they kept it.
Nice.
It, well, Steve obviously is the best improv artist there, but he has the most freedom. I mean,
Hmm.
John, of course, Rain, those guys are stars of the show and they can do what they want pretty much. They stick to the script. I mean, that's your job is not to rewrite it. I mean, every now and then you can think of something funnier. I tried it a few times. You're like, no, let's stick with what we wrote. I mean, there's whole teams of writers and network. They approve every word. You know, I mean, it's not a free for all.
Yeah, I mean, you must think as well, like you said, there's a team of writers. They know what they're doing.
Oh,
They know how to get the comedy across.
it's down to the minute. I mean, you're making 23 minutes or sometimes 22 minutes and 40 seconds, and they're fighting over 5 seconds, right? That's how precise it is. So, you know, you don't, no effing around.
Do you have any like lesser known facts about Bob Vance specifically, or maybe The Office as a whole?
Well, it's hard to say. What do you mean?
Obviously, there's a lot of Office trivia, and there's a big fandom for The Office, and especially with the newer generation getting involved in it now and having the internet, you can find out a lot of things. So, do you have anything that like maybe wouldn't have slipped through the gaps?
My favorite trivia question, let's see if you know the answer. What are the names of Bob Vance's twin sons?
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Well, Bob Jr. and Lance Vance. Yeah, and where Bob had Phyllis is not Bob's first wife. Bob's first wife he left in Vietnam in Ho Chi Minh City. In fact, he has a whole family over there, according to
Oh, wow.
the writers. Yeah, yeah,
According to the writers.
yeah. No, Phyllis makes a reference to it in Phyllis's wedding. Bob's other family in Ho Chi Minh City.
I know you've mentioned yours and Phyllis's wedding a few times already. Do you have a favorite episode that either you've been in or a favorite episode in The Office in general?
Well, dinner party. My favorite episode is Phyllis's wedding, but dinner
Okay.
party is a great episode. Um, and the rest of them sort of blur together. Although I love Casino Night. Um,
Yeah.
I also I like Initiation because I get to taunt Stanley and Michael with "What a Pair of Marys." That was a great line. Uh, uh, some of the the Christmas stuff was good. Christmas Party is a classic. That makes
Hmm.
the top Christmas episodes for all of TV, right? That's our number one. Well, the number one Office Christmas episode is Christmas Party, according to
Hmm.
the experts. And there's a million lists. Everybody's got one. What else? Uh, Dinner Party, I think, is terrific, terrific. And that's the one that wrote the book. Rolling Stone writer Andy Green did. They did a big article about Dinner Party, and that prompted the book. There were so many hits online about that episode. It's based on the famous Virginia Woolf uh, play. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? The movie, the play by
Hmm.
Edward Albee. And it's a bickering couple, and in the film, it's played by Richard Burton, a Welshman, and Elizabeth Taylor. So they're professors at a university fighting and drunk the whole movie, and raw, 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 rough stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you on that. Dinner Party is easily my favorite episode, and I think a lot of people would agree with that.
Well, watch Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Yeah,
I'm giving you some movies here today.
yeah,
I think
yeah. I've got
Dick Dixter, so you need to watch Dick Dixter. That's my take on the movie industry.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a watch list now following this interview. Yeah. So looking back at your time on The Office and maybe rewatching some of the episodes now, What do you miss most about that period of your career?
Oh, I don't miss anything about it. I mean, it was work and we were doing something we loved and doing it well. And, it ended up even better than we ever thought. Um, I retired 3 years ago, so I don't really miss it at all. I mean, I spent 35 years doing it. So that's a long, that's a long time in LA, my friend. In the shit, as they say.
What was it like being in LA? What did you think of that?
Well, it went from good to bad to worse. I mean, the conditions there are really bad right now, with poverty and homelessness and theft and riots and earthquakes and fires and bad government. I mean, it's a mess. And I got out when the getting was good and led the exodus. 350,000 people moved out in the last year. So that should tell you
Mm,
something. Am I the only one? No. Lots of people leaving. Julia,
exactly, yeah.
Julia Roberts last week. See ya. She's gone.
She's out.
Oh, she's out.
Yeah.
Enough. Mark Wahlberg left. Enough. So, you know,
Yeah. I mean, everyone seems to want to move to LA to start a career in like, well, pretty much anything in America. But everyone that's got a career there seems to shift out as soon as they can.
well, when you can afford to get out, yeah. I mean, when you reach a place where they're offering you scripts and you can go, yeah, I like this one. You don't have to go fight for every role, right?
Yeah.
It's two different worlds. I never really got to that place. I mean, I was always fighting. I mean, I always had to audition. I mean, I got offers, yeah, but not consistently.
So talking about other roles as well, beyond The Office and maybe some before The Office as well, what's your most proudest projects that you've been involved in?
Well, Psycho Cop, is a cult hit. I mean, I did such a range of things. I liked working in theater. I did, Lee and True West, which is a benchmark for actors. On film, I did Stiletto. I did Pee Wee's Big Holiday. I mean, I did crazy stuff.
Gosh, yeah.
I did monster movies. I was the villain. I was the cop. I played cops all the time. I did all the big shows. I did Criminal Minds. I did Boston Legal, Las Vegas, um, on and on. And it was uh, it was all good. I mean, could have been better.
No, I mean you've got a star-studded lineup of everything that you've done.
And I have
Oh wow.
this right here.
I love that. Yeah.
So
The cap, the
there's
glass, the signs, everything.
there's that. Well, that's a sign from the set. One of the guys, there were two of them. Someone, I'm not going to say who, they may still hold the Bible. Someone liberated that sign for me, and they called me up and said, "I have a sign from the set. Would you like it?" And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Well, you're gonna have to do me a favor for it." And I said, "Name it. I'll take you to lunch." So I took them to lunch, and I did a part for them. I played a bad daddy. I mean, a really bad daddy. Uh,
Yeah.
in a short film for him, and I gave him a day and a couple of days of work to pay for it. So,
Oh, very nice.
well,
Yeah, that's a nice gesture, yeah.
I believe in helping first time guys out, especially ones
Hmm.
associated with the show.
So maybe I know how you just mentioned your belief there about helping guys out and everything. Do you have a key bit of advice for actors wanting to climb this ladder at the moment?
Well, I mean, it's very different from when I started. I mean, it really, the only advice I would give is to make your own movie, right? That's the fastest, surest way. You're the way that you're gonna um, play the role that you want to play, that you're maybe best suited to play. Although we're maybe not as objective about what we should be doing as others, right? But this is your shot. I mean, why not go for it. Go for the ring. Do the whole thing instead of incrementally. But if you're going to incrementally do it, you need to go to class. You got to learn how to do it. You got to learn how to do it on camera. Then you got to do it to the exclusion of everything else except keeping a roof over your head, right? And that all goes back into your career. Everything is about the career. There can be nothing else. There can be nothing else. That's my advice.
I like it, and I'm sure that'll help out a lot of up and coming actors that are listening to this and that wanna hear that. Yeah.
The ones who have the real fire and they know who they are, and then there's the pretenders. There's always the pretenders and the wannabes and the people who aren't going to stick it out, and the ones who last 5 years and the ones who last 2 years. I mean, I saw them come and go. Like I said, I was there 35 years, so I saw quite a bit. I did a commercial with Kenny Rogers for Geico. We were playing cards together, and he sings "The Gambler." You gotta know when to hold.
Yeah.
And it's a famous spot. I mean, they played the hell of it. More people came talk to me about that than anything. It was over 2
Really?
Oh, I mean, everybody. There was one where I was for Cobra Golf, and I was walking down the fairway in my underwear, and David Faraday comes up to me and he looks at me, and I'm standing there in these baby Huey underwear, and he looks at me and goes, "Pull yourself together, man." Just walking on. Well, all summer long, all the golfers, that's all they saw. That was the guy in his underwear. Pull yourself together, man.
And that's what you were known for that point.
Yeah, I was glad that I was thrilled what was on because I was making a lot of money, but I was kind of glad it was over.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
But some things are never over. Bob Vance, for instance, never over.
A living icon.
Oh yeah.
Are you still in touch with any of the cast of The Office, Steve and John and everyone?
Well, I haven't seen John in a long time, but I saw 20 of them in Chicago a couple months ago. And then we're going to be down in Miami in March. I mean, there'll be another 20 of us there. I mean, we're doing these reunions, so I'll see them then. I haven't seen
Oh, amazing.
her in a while, but I text her occasionally. I mean, your Hollywood close is what you call it. Your Hollywood friends. When you're doing it, you're close, and then you drift apart. On to the next.
Yeah.
On to the next job, like life, like anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone sort of does their own thing in their own lane. Oh, great. Well, to close off, Bob, I'd love to hear the catchphrase one more time.
Bob Vance, Refrigeration. That one.
There we go. That's again. Of course, that's the catchphrase.
One charge.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, Bob.
Hi, Dane. Thanks.